Hey everybody. First off, if you hear a motor running, our power just went out. As soon as I got out here and set my table up, the power went out. And when that happens, my neighbor across from my driveway, I think she's on oxygen. I haven't seen her in a long time, but they have a whole house generator, and the minute the power goes out, her generator starts. And it is loud. It is a Generac, and it's louder than I imagined it should be. But anyway, we're gonna try to get through this. I had an idea. I was talking to a friend, and I'd had this idea before she mentioned it. I've been thinking about this and mulling it over, thinking, how can I do this? Because I have no good camera setup. But I've been thinking about this, and I said to her, you know, I may have to find another direction from my channel, something else to do on here. And she said, that beautiful wrap you made, why don't you teach how to make that? And I said, you know, it's weird you say that, because I was just thinking about doing a video to encourage people to take up a new hobby, a very inexpensive hobby. Almost cost nothing, even though even that has gone up lately. But the wrap she was talking about, and you saw me wear it the other day, was this shawl. Okay? This is a very long shawl. It's a pretty big shawl. Okay, it goes, it's not as large as the pattern called for, but this is the shawl. It's called a one skein. Skein is, a skein of yarn is, you know, this whole thing here. But, and I said, you know, I think I will, but of course, even though this pattern is listed as easy, I can tell you one thing. When I started learning to crochet, my sister-in-law stuck a crochet hook in my hand, and she said, here, let me show you how to do this. And that was years ago. And I found this pattern, and I thought, that is the most beautiful shawl I think I've ever seen. And I want to make that. But I had to learn all the stitches, and I had to learn how to read a pattern, what all the abbreviations stood for. So I could read the instructions. And I kept that pattern, and eventually I made this. And I don't necessarily think this is an easy one. I would think it's more advanced beginner, maybe. There's not any particularly hard stitches to do. It's just that this is such a big project, and you can kind of lose track of yourself in it. But anyway, I'm not going to do that. Okay. But I thought, you know, the simplest thing on earth, the simplest hobby really, besides even quilting, is just crochet. You literally need one crochet hook and one skein of yarn. That's it. It's very portable. It, unlike some quilting, unless you do all your quilting by hand, and then quilts get awfully large to carry around with you, it's very portable. So, for instance, I'm going to have to reach here. I'm just going to show you a few things before, and I'm going to show you how to start crochet. There are plenty of videos on YouTube about this, but that's not on my channel. So, and reason I'm saying this is because right now, in our time of stress, crochet has more benefits than just making things. It actually is a meditative kind of process, more so than quilting. You can, once you get the muscle memory down for doing these stitches, it's actually quite meditative. You can do it while watching television. You can do it mindlessly. If you make a mistake, it's easy to just pull it right back out and go back step a little bit and start over and fix some of your mistakes. It's really pretty easy to do. And besides the stress relief, that movement is good for arthritic hands. I have a little arthritis in some of my fingers, and I mean, it's not bad, and I have carpal tunnel from hand quilting all these years, but I don't even know what's going on. It's probably the utility truck coming, who knows. But our power is still out. But the movement, the hooking, and this is good for your joints. Also, there's a little math involved, not hard math. I mean, if you can count, you can do this. If you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can do this. And I think any project like that, any kind of artistic project, keeps your brain young. Well, her generator turned off, so maybe our power's back on. So there's a lot of benefits to a simple craft such as crochet. Plus, there's utility to it. You can make all kinds of small projects. It doesn't have to be a big shawl. One of the simplest things to start, the way to learn, is to make a washcloth. Now, this is a fairly complicated little washcloth that I made. The stitches are a little bit more complicated than a basic washcloth. But this is 100% cotton. It's one of the easiest ways to get started. In fact, your washcloth may look more like this, just basic stitches here. The great thing about these is they're 100% cotton. You use 100% cotton yarn, and it's easy on the skin. These are great for babies. The only thing about these is they're thicker than a regular terry cloth washcloth, and what you have to do is make sure that when you rinse them out, you hang them where air can get to them, because they can actually they will mildew if you leave them there and leave them wet and all crumpled up, because they need airflow. This is compared to a terry cloth washcloth, this is it can be kind of thick, but it's all natural material, and you can make as many as you want, as many types as you want. And when they get faded or they start to look ratty, let's throw them in the trash and make some more. All it takes is a little bit of yarn. Let me tell you some of the types of yarn. This is cotton yarn. This is what I call kitchen yarn. This brand is Peaches and Cream. This is 100% cotton yarn. I just bought this today because all of mine are kind of old. Hang on, let me show you. That washcloth, that little washcloth I showed you was way, but this one, this is the old Peaches and Cream. This is a new one. This has, I think, how many yards? This is 95 yards of cotton yarn. This is, I think, 102. But this Peaches and Cream yarn, this literally cost me $1.97. Okay, cheapest yarn pretty much on the planet. 100% cotton yarn. Never do anything with washcloths that you don't use 100% cotton yarn with. But there are a lot of kinds of yarn. And they're very cheap. And generally, I will say there is a scarcity in the store right now at Walmart, because I went to get it and I thought, whoa, where'd all the yarn go? But basically, one of the cheapest yarns is going to be your Red Heart Super Saver. This yarn is not as soft as some. Of course, after you wash what you make with it, it softens up a little bit. This is acrylic, 100% acrylic yarn. This has 350 something yards or whatever in this. You can tell I use a lot of it. This is the Super Saver yarn. Red Heart. Red Heart's the very well-known brand. This is the Walmart's version, the mainstay version of the Super Saver. This has a few more yards in their skein of yarn. This seems to be a little softer than the Red Heart. Red Heart also has a line called With Love. This is also Red Heart. This is softer. You can tell this is a striping yarn. It makes a pattern when you crochet something with it. Red Heart also has some gorgeous yarns. This Huga yarn. This is extremely, you can probably tell how much softer this is. See that? This is just so plush and soft. Makes wonderful hats, scarves. Let's see, I've got something else over here. Hang on, let me see. Now, Red Heart is one brand. They have Lion brand. They have Burnett. They have Karen. The shawl was made with 1 pound skein of Caron yarn, C-A-R-O-N, not Karen, but Caron, C-A-R-O-N. 1 pound, it's a 1 skein shawl, but it's a big skein, it's a 1 pound one. It's got over 1,000 yards in it. Then they got, the soft little velux. I've made a lot of things out of this, like this headband, super soft. Oh, this is so soft and so warm. You can do all kinds of things. It's not sort of a hot pad. This is nice because it's two-sided. It is actually 2 sides. Little chicken, speckled hen hot pad. You make these with cotton yarn. you can make things like, I mean, if you really like to make these little things, this little puppy hat. This is super cute. I mean, I put this on and I look like a goofball, but this is really cute. I mean, this is a nice little hat too. It fits really well. I couldn't tell you where I got this pattern, so please don't ask me. I don't have a clue. You can look up puppy hat and you probably find it. There are plenty of places online that you can get free crochet patterns. Lion Brand, Lion, Lion Brand has all kinds of free patterns. Red Heart has free patterns. Karen has free patterns. Karen's site is called Yarnspirations. And of course, you can also do, you know, these long scarf cowls, you know. I made this with the Red Heart with Love yarns. You can see the pattern in here. But the point is, you can do all kinds of stuff with yarn. Now, the kind of yarn I suggest that you start with is a basic called worsted weight yarn. You will see in a number 4 yarn on the label. This is the yarn. This is the weight yarn. This is a number 4. Is it going to focus? It's number 4 worsted weight yarn. It tells you the suggested size hooks with that, and I'll tell you what I suggest. This is just a plain mid-weight yarn. It's so easy. You can make almost everything with this. This is just an acrylic yarn. This is not cotton blend. This is an acrylic yarn. Acrylic is going to be the cheapest yarn, and some of the cottons, the basic cottons, are pretty cheap. Some of the higher end cotton yarns are a little bit more expensive. But I would suggest a number 4 worsted weight yarn for just about everything you're going to make. Now, the only other thing you need is a crochet hook. There are different types. There are different sizes. You have the basic metal hook. This is a 5mm hook. This is the most common size that I use, is a 5mm hook. I usually use 5mm to 6mm. Almost always everything I use is 5mm, 5.5, or 6mm hooks. 6mm is a larger hook, thicker hook. This is also a 5mm hook, but you see it's got padding. I love these. This I think is from Clover brand. These cost a little more, but you can get entire sets of all size hooks for $10 for, you know, multiple size hooks. But I love these. This is good for people who have, you know, arthritis. It gives you an easy grip. This metal is fine, but you know, it's slippery and it can be cold. You got that. You have hooks like this. This is a 4.5mm, which you can usually, a lot of people use these to make washcloths because it's a tighter weave. This has a wooden handle, wooden base with a metal end. You can have, now this is a big one. I can't even remember what size this is. This is plastic hook. This is a much bigger one for like making blankets and such, or just using a thicker yarn. The bigger the hook, thicker yarn uses bigger hooks generally. You can do all that. And when we had our house fire and we were living in our in an RV in the driveway for 4 months, my beautiful friend Terry from backyardchickens.com, one of the moderators, who she's also an administrator, she's just under the owner, she sent me a set of this beautiful Brittany crochet hooks, this beautiful wooden work of art. It's gorgeous. This is, I think, a 5mm, and also she sent me one larger one, and I'm sorry I keep going in and out of the frame here. And then she sent me this little booklet, 2-hour washcloths, and that is how I made this washcloth from the pattern in this book. And I sat there and I made washcloth after washcloth, and I've thrown away a lot of them. What's good about cotton is you can just throw it in the washer. So there's a lot of different kinds of yarn. This is the smaller number. Like this is what they call a sport weight yarn. I don't remember where I got this, on some kind of estate sale or something, with a bunch of other yarn. This is a sport weight. This is a number 3. It's not as thick as the number 4 worsted weight yarn. And there are thicker yarns, but I rarely use those. I think, what is this one? This beautiful Hugo yarn. This is a number 5. See if I can get this to focus here. Number 5. So this is a thicker yarn than this, and so it calls for a thicker hook. So anyway, you can use whatever yarn you want, but I would suggest a 5mm hook and a number 4 worsted weight yarn, just a simple yarn, acrylic yarn, or cotton if you're going to make a washcloth. You don't want to make washcloths with acrylic. It's too scratchy. It doesn't dry like it should, because it's often washed and dried and washed and dried. And so definitely suggest the cotton yarn, like the peaches and cream yarn. And so yeah, and there you can get a lot of other complicated things, like this particular wrap right here. I was making this for my lovely friend Lady Hawk. You see this? This is just really pretty. I never got to give it to her. But in any case, so there's just an example of some of the things that you can make with this yarn. And I'm going to try to teach you how to get started with a hook, 1 skein of cotton yarn, and we're going to start making a little washcloth, just like this one. Just a little. Now this is a face cloth, okay? I don't know if we're going to make it. This particular one has 2 sides. It also has a border. This has, if you see the texture on this one, it's got some bobbles. It's got a bobble stitch. This side is textured. The back side is plain. And these are perfect for washing your face, for babies, just little ones. And it's so easy. So if you want to de-stress and you want to keep your hands something to do and your mind something to do and actually produce something that has a utilitarian use, stick around. And we're going to show you how to get started on crochet. Okay, we're going to make a slip knot. Put around your first 2 fingers. I just put the hook in there and grab that and pull that through. And we have a slip knot to get started. I'm using my 5mm hook and the cotton kitchen yarn in the rosemary color. You know I love green. Okay. So, the way I do it, I put it over my index finger, the back of the yarn. Leave this tail down here, this long tail. We'll weave that in at the end. Put this here, okay? Grasp underneath this knot with your index finger and the other, or your middle finger, whichever is easy. And then you will take your hook and you're going to go under that yarn. That's called yarning over. Under it, hook it, and pull it through that loop. Keep it loose. Do not pull it tight. That's the one thing most new crocheters do. They pull things tight. You need to keep it loose. Keep your hands relaxed, your shoulders relaxed. Then you go back under, yarn over, pull through. Okay. We're doing the foundation chain. This is the very first chain. This is going to determine how large or how wide, long, whatever that your project is. Yep. Take a hook, yarn over, hold this steady, and pull this through. See what it's looking like here? Don't let this get too loose now. And pull it back down with your fingers here. Don't let it get too tight. Just casually loose. You'll figure it out as you go along. It'll become too difficult to do if it's too tight. So we're going to do this. Let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You have to reposition your fingers, do it. 15, 16. If you lose count, just stop right there and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I just did, this is the 16th one that's on my hook now. 17, 18, 19. Let's see, let's do 23. 20, 21, 22, and 23. And when you first pull this skein of yarn out, you don't pull there. You're going to see a tail out here. You don't pull it from out here. You pull it from inside. You'll reach in and you pull it out here. Sometimes you get a whole lot of yarn, and sometimes like that, and sometimes you'll just get. That's where the end is that you've got to pull from. You've got to pull from inside the center. So we've got the small size that you want to start with right here. Now the first row we're going to do a single crochet. The stitch is called single crochet. So to start that row, this is the hardest one because it's not that much to hold on to. The first row, you're going to take your hook and you're going to go into not this one, not the first one that this loop is coming out of. You don't want to go into that one. You want to go into the next one right here. And if you look at the top of a stitch, look at the top of the stitch, you'll see two posts right there. So if you go into not the one this loop is coming out of, not this one, but the next one, stick your hook in there under the two. Each of these stitches has like 3 posts, 1, 2, 3. Get your hook under the two, under 2 of them, and pull that through. You don't yarn over for this one, you just pull this through. And now you yarn over and you pull through both of these loops. That's your first single crochet stitch. It'll become more clear when it's in your own hands. Now, you don't yarn over for a single. You reach at the beginning, you reach underneath these first 2 posts of this next stitch. Then you yarn over to pull this yarn through. You yarn over and you pull it through those 2 stitches, two loops. Okay. One thing I want to say, always look, this will always look like this. The stitches from the back are going to look different. Make sure you're not twisting this to the back. It looks totally different and you will mess yourself up. That's one reason you hold this with your thumb and your forefinger, so that it does not twist. You want to always get your stitches into, there are other stitches where you go through the back, but this is not one of them. This is a basic single crochet stitch. So you go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull that through, yarn over and pull it through 2 loops. Okay. Next stitch, put through, yarn over and pull that through. See, you're making your stitches here now. So you do not yarn over on a single crochet the first time. You stick it into the next stitch, the next chain stitch, then you yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, pull through those 2 stitches. For the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through those 2 stitches. I'm going to hustle up a little bit and get to the end, and I will teach you one more stitch. Go to the next chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through those 2 stitches. Okay. It's very important that you keep this chain facing you. You do not turn it to the back. It's going to look 100% different to you. You're going to get confused if you twist your chain. This is the hardest part, is this very first row, because there's just not much to hold on to. So we're going to go ahead and finish out this row with single crochet stitches. Okay. Relax your shoulders. Don't get tense. If you get tense, you're going to take this way too tight. See, I'm only holding like this. That's why I like these padded things. You don't have to hold them so tight because they don't let your fingers slip. And so I really prefer these. They're a little more expensive than just plain metal ones. Still not overly so. I mean, you can get these for $5-6, I think, each. You can get a set of them much more cost effectively than just one at a time. Okay, next single. Okay, into the, okay, the next chain, through. And if you look and you've seen you've got 2 stitches in one, or you've skipped a stitch, you could always easily, you know how easy it is to pull this out? That easy. It's so easy to pull that out. It's just so easy. And then also sometimes yarn will do what that just did, and you'll get it between the fibers of the yarn. If that happens, pull it out, stabilize yourself here, and keep going. Okay. I started out doing this. My sister-in-law showed me the single stitch, and I looked it up, and there are all kinds of free websites, free patterns. There's places that explain how to read a crochet pattern. That's a whole other skill. Yes, but we're just doing single crochets all the way down the row, just singles all the way down. So we don't have much to go here, and I'll show you how to get to the end and turn it, and then we'll do a different stitch. Singles is the easiest one to do. Okay. And I'll show you how you're supposed to count your stitches. Counting your stitches and counting stitches every couple of rows will also help you know if you're actually going off. When you realize you haven't done as many stitches as you're supposed to, or you've done too many, your edges will end up being kind of wonky. They'll end up going like this, becoming very wavy. Okay, but that's not our problem right now. And it doesn't matter with a washcloth. Who cares? It'll still scrub you just as good as one that's nice and perfectly symmetrical. Okay. Now we're down to the very first chain we made. We're going to go in there, and we're going to do our single in the last chain, which is the first chain we made. Okay. Now we have the whole row of single crochet stitches. So the way we're going to turn this and go to the next row, you're going to chain one. So all you need to do is chain one, and that raises you up. Then you take it and you turn the whole piece here. And now look at, you're on the back. Now if you look at this from the top, get this out of the way, you're going to see little V's. You see these little V shapes here? Each one of those is a stitch. That's an easy way to count your stitches right there. But you turn the corner. Now, where do you put your first stitch? Okay? We're going to do what's called a half double. Okay? But we're not going to go into this one here. We're not going to go on this first one, because this is where this chain, this turning chain they call it, is coming out of. And this turning chain is going to count as the first stitch of your next row. So what you're going to do is, for a half double, you're going to yarn over before you go into the chain. Then you're going to go into the next stitch, and you'll know you're in the right place because you're going to go underneath the V, the 2 posts of that V. Okay? Then you'll yarn over and pull that through, and you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Then you will yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. You'll find out if you're having difficulty getting it through, you'll realize you are holding it way too tight, or you're pulling too tight. Now, the next half double, yarn over, stick it into the next stitch, through, yarn over, pull through those 2. Now the half double is a little taller stitch than a single. Yarn over, go underneath the next stitch, and you'll see you're underneath that V. See it? You're underneath that V. Okay? And make sure you're not catching this tail. Okay? Grab the yarn through there, yarn over, pull through all 3. The half double is one of my favorite stitches. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 stitches. It's one of my favorite ones. Single's probably my least favorite, but I love half doubles and doubles. And they have triples and all kinds of other stitches, but we're not going to worry about that. Yarn over, go through the next stitch, grab your yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Yarn over, next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, go through all 3 stitches. See, it's starting to look like something here. Look at that, see? Look at that. And we don't have any holes because we haven't skipped any stitches. And that turning chain is actually counted as the first half double stitch for the next row. Yarn over, the next stitch, which is under those 2 posts. You'll see, if you're confused, look at it from the top of the stitch. Pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarn over, into the next stitch, grab your yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. So, get to the next stitch. We're still on the half double crochet stitch. Yarn over, then go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Right. Yarn over, the next stitch, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And I'm just going to go ahead all down to the end, okay? And pretty soon is this muscle memory. Do you see this rhythm? You get the muscle memory and then you get a rhythm going. It's very soothing and de-stressing. Let me just say, and this is why I'm doing this. And let me tell you something. Men crochet too. And it's not just gay men, okay? Yes, some of them do, but I've known of some men who crochet, and it's relaxing, and it helps their arthritic fingers, and it gives them something to do with their hands that it keeps them calm. There's a lot of men who quilt too, people. They absolutely do. Sometimes they do it with their wives. So, okay, we're almost to the end here. Okay, and we're in the last stitch here. You'll see that the last stitch. Okay, so we will yarn over, go under this last 2 posts here, grab it, pull through. Whoops, did I miss that? See, if you think you've missed one, and it's easy to do. Yarn over, go underneath both posts of this last stitch. Make sure you're under both posts. Sometimes it's easy to miss it on that last one because it's getting pulled by the chain, the turning chain. Yarn over, pull through this, yarn over, pull through all 3 stitches. And there you have your first 2 rows. The next row I'm going to do it on a different video, but we're going to do a double crochet on the next one. So for that one, you're going to do 1, 2 for your turning chain, and we'll take up the double crochet on the next one.